This is an introduction to the latest HauntBots product. It is a 3-channel self-contained prop controller. Self-contained meaning that it doesn't require a computer to program it. It has internal sound as well as a 40-watt amplifier, and your outputs are relay outputs, and you have the normally open and normally closed side of every relay available. And right now it's powered up, it's sitting in the standby state. We don't actually have any devices hooked to our output terminals. We do have a speaker hooked up here though, and we have our power coming in, and we have just a push button trigger set up. So right now it's sitting in its standby mode. The decimal point in the LED display flickers to let you know that it's alive, and if we were to trigger it right now, it would start playing its show. Now the 1 indicates that it's show number 1. The LEDs, the horizontal LEDs flickering in the right-hand digit, those are actually the outputs that are firing. So you have a visual indication of the outputs firing as well as the outputs themselves firing. So that was just a quickie little run-through of a show that was in there. But to actually create a show, go through a walkthrough, these buttons, most of them have dual purposes. The number 1 button is for programming output number 1. It's also an edit button. The number 2 button for programming is a down button, and the number 3 button also works as an up button for going through some of the menus. So if we hit the menu button, first thing we see is SC, that stands for show count. It's currently set to have 1 triggered show. Going down through the menu, the next thing you see is AS, that stands for ambient show. It's currently set to N, which represents no. Now ambient show would be a show that would play pretty much in a loop all the time whenever a triggered show wasn't running. So if you wanted a light to flash on, or if you just wanted some background music to play, the ambient show could have its own background music, something like that. The next thing in the menu is TR for trigger. It's set to normally open. It can be set normally open or normally closed. And then we actually go into the programming menu. So P1 is for program 1, and since we set this for only 1 show, it's the only one we're going to see. So if we hit again, we're going to be back to show count. You can have from 1 to 9 shows, plus the ambient show, so a total of 10 shows stored in the controller. So going down to P1, we can edit that show. Now right away it takes you to the run menu, and most of these menus are arranged in such a way that they're in the order that you would have to work with them in. So the run menu gives you the ability to play that show, and we could hit the button again and it would play the show for us. If we go down through the menu, AC stands for audio clip. Now there's a library of audio clips built into the controller, and right now these are just some sample clips I have loaded in, but there will be real clips loaded into it when it's released. And currently I only have 6 audio clips in it, but there's room for just under 4 megs of sound. In MP3 clips, that's quite a bit of sound. So right now we're using audio clip number 1, and if you want to edit the audio clip, you hit the edit button. It starts playing the sound you're on, and as you cycle through them, you'll hear each audio clip, so you can select the clip you're looking for. So let's say we want that one. We lock it in, and now we're on audio clip number 4. Next thing down is AL, which is the audio level. Again, if you go to edit that, so you can set the audio level from 0 to 99. Right now, this is a 40-watt mono amplifier built into this. We're currently only running it off of 12 volts, and the internal gain on the amplifier is not up the whole way, so we're not getting all 40 watts right now. But again, the released version will actually have that strapped for full gain, so you'll have a full 40 watts, assuming you can supply it enough DC current. Continuing down through the menu, PR is where you can actually create the show. So to set the show up, you'd hit the edit button again. Now again, these segments represent the outputs that are going to fire. So you can go through here and you can say, well, I just want to program one of the outputs, or I want to program all three, or just two, or whatever. And like all of our products that are computer programmed, you can go back in multiple times. You can do your programming in layers. So you can program one output, then come back in and program the next output on top of that, where the first output's still playing. So it's pretty flexible as far as what you want to do. So once you have it set up, you hit the edit button again. We'll get a 3, 2, 1 countdown, and at the end of that, the sound will start playing. And it'll record for as long as we let it, until we hit the escape button. And that sets the show length, locks the show in, and if we hit the button, and that's basically how you program it. Continuing down through the menu, audio clip, audio level, program. OR stands for override. It indicates, now there's, like I said, there's the capacity to store 9 different shows in this. However, there's only one trigger input. So that means every time it's triggered, it's going to step to the next show. And each show can have its own audio clip, or shows can share one audio clip amongst all of them. It's really flexible that way, but the OR setting determines whether a show can be stepped on, whether once it's playing it has to continue before another show can be triggered on top of it. DB stands for delay before. From the time the show is triggered, you can set up a pre-show delay. So if your sensor has to be in another room and you have to allow time for people to get around a hallway or something like that, you can say, well, we want after it's triggered, we want a 5-second delay before the show starts. Anything in there is possible from 0 to 99 seconds. The next setting is DA for delay after. Again, 0 to 99 seconds. If you want to set it so that after it's triggered, there's a dead zone where it can't be triggered again, 0 to 99 seconds available to you. And then we loop back around to the run menu. There's one other menu we didn't see in there. There is a fade menu, and that turns on a fade mode. And what that basically represents, it's tied into the override. So what it says is, okay, if your override mode is on, then you have a fade mode available to you, and what that determines is whether the show that's getting stepped on just cuts off immediately, or whether it fades the audio out and kind of comes to a more graceful stop before switching over to the other show. So we don't see it because we don't have override turned on. If I go in here and I tell it I want override to be on, set that to yes. If we go down, then you see the fade menu, which is set to no. If we set that to yes, the audio would fade out. So those are some of the features built into the new HauntBots 3-channel controller. I wanted to clarify something regarding the audio subsection. I mentioned a library of audio clips which will come shipped with the unit. However, there is a USB connection, and that will provide the end user with the ability to download their own audio clips into it with a small application provided with the controller. So you'll be able to select MP3 files and WAV files from your computer and download them into the controller. The clips that are there are just purely meant for convenience sake to get you up and running quickly, and if one of the clips can be used, you know, great, you're up and running that much faster. In addition to the 40-watt built-in Class D amplifier, it also does have a stereo outline signal. So if you are using stereo MP3 files and you need more sound than just what the internal amplifier can provide, you can come out of the line out to feed an external amplifier. Other than that, it's same case size as we've been using, same type of connectors. They're plug-in type connectors, so in the event that you would have to change out a controller for some reason, you could just pull the connections. You don't have to rewire each of the screw terminals individually.